Hell House LLC is a found footage mockumentary horror film that was released a decade ago, 2015, ultimately following around a documentary crew as they attempt to unravel the mystery surrounding a haunted house tourist attraction that actually has its own sordid history and might actually be haunted for real, especially when certain props seem to move on their own when you least expect it. I chose this movie for my 52-week horror movie challenge after I was given the prompt to find a film that I didn't want to watch alone. I don't love that prompt though, because it's probably the most vague prompt out of the entire book. Something that I don't want to see alone? Isn't that just another way to describe a scary movie, a horror movie in general? I could have put anything there. But some of my favorite horror films have tended to be in the found footage category as long as they were done right. So I knew that I wanted to include one of those for this week's installment. There's really only a handful of found footage films that I've heard a lot about and a lot of praise for that I've also never seen before, and Hell House LLC was definitely among that list. There's been 5 movies in the franchise, by the way, the most recent of which was released just last month, which is a pretty big shock to me. Found footage films may be everywhere, yeah, but not too many of them receive a bunch of sequels like that. But when they do, more often than not, I'm usually a fan of the franchise. What about Hell House? What do I think? Well, I think that there's some merit to that, but it's not the best found footage movie that I've ever seen. One of the first things that I look for with found footage is the explanation for the footage itself. Why are they filming what they're filming? For Hell House, it's okay, but it's asking a lot from the audience. Do I believe that a group of small business owners are documenting putting together this haunted house attraction? Yes, I do. Do I believe that they would record as much as they do? For instance, taking the camera to your bedroom, getting in bed, turning off the camera, then when you wake up, turning it on first thing in the morning. That is a bit much to me. They would never do that in a million years. It's a minor gripe, but it was definitely in the back of my mind. Plus, when the paranormal stuff begins to happen, I kind of doubt that keeping filming would be on the top of their minds. But again, these are things that we kind of have to look past if we are to enjoy the movie. The next thing that I look for is the scares themselves, and that's something that I think that the film does pretty well with. It does take a while to really ramp those things up, but once it does, it's relatively effective, utilizing a type of scare that I don't really see very often, but I love it when I do, and that's basically doing the whole weeping angels thing, having a stationary character look at you all ominously but otherwise never move until you look away. Because when you turn to look at it again, that's when you'll notice that it has moved, either further away, completely gone, or very close. I find that to be a very effective method of horror. I've seen TikTok videos that specialize in making horror short form videos, and they do this constantly. It's just a really good way to build tension and intrigue. It's kind of similar to a jump scare when you know something's about to get creepy, but it's not an actual jump scare. I will say that I wish it wasn't so much paranormal. I get why it is, but what little I knew about the film, particularly with the moving clowns that are supposed to be mannequins, I had this gut feeling that it was more of a physical, tangible threat. Like, for instance, they go into this abandoned hotel to set up a tourist attraction, yeah, but of course somebody would be living in the hotel, right? A squatter or something, and when they are not looking, the squatter would get all dressed up as the clown to scare him away so that he could get some peace and quiet. That would be probably how I would write it if it were me, but the paranormal haunted house story does also work. Again, I wouldn't say it's the best found footage film I've ever seen. I still think Paranormal Activity 1 and 2 take the cake for that, as well as the Blair Witch Project. The ideas that they presented in those movies with the less is more approach is definitely top tier, but what I think Hell House managed to do was introduce just enough surface details that can be looked into a little bit deeper for some sequels. So even though the movie mostly works as a standalone feature, I think it also has some promise for a series as well, and obviously it does because it has so many sequels. But only time can tell. I'm sure I'll be checking out those other films in the series soon enough. I'll be giving this one, though, 61 out of 100 possible stars. That's a C letter grade. But what about you guys, though? Are you a fan of the Hell House LLC found footage horror film series? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, whenever and whatever that may be on. And until then, peace out.